I'm 20, my name is Sophia, and I've always considered my family a safe haven, where there's no place for secrets and pain. My life was simple, studying at university, evenings with books, and dreams of a future where I'd become a designer. But everything collapsed in an instant, when I reached into my mother's closet for her silk scarf for a party. I was rummaging through a stack of sweaters when my fingers came across something hard, an old, yellowed envelope, hidden as if it wasn't supposed to be found. I opened it with a sinking heart, feeling like I was doing something forbidden. Inside was a letter from a man named David, dated a year before I was born. "I can't forget our night, Lena," he wrote. "If she's your daughter, I have to know." Each word hit like a hammer. My head was buzzing. My hands shook so much that I dropped the envelope. My mother, Lena, always said that my father had died when I was a baby, but this letter hinted at a different truth, a truth that took my breath away. That evening, when my mother returned from work, I sat on the couch, clutching the letter in my hands, my palms clammy with emotion. "Who is David?" I blurted out, unable to keep the tremor from my voice. Her face went pale, her eyes widened in horror, and she snatched the envelope from my hands as if it would burn her. "You weren't supposed to see that," she whispered, her voice shaking and a fear in her eyes I'd never seen before. She turned away, but I saw her shoulders slump, as if a heavy weight had fallen on her. Her reaction only piqued my curiosity, and I felt determination ignite inside me. "I will find this David, no matter what it takes, even if it turns my life upside down." I couldn't sleep, thinking about the letter, about David, about how my whole life might have been a lie. I started looking for him, armed only with his name and an old photograph I'd found in the same closet, tucked into a tattered album. In the picture, he was tall, with dark hair and a smile that seemed eerily familiar, like I was looking in a mirror. His eyes, slightly narrowed, and the dimple in his chin were the same as mine. The discovery made my head spin, and my heart sank with a mixture of fear and hope. After a week of online searching, endless requests, and sleepless nights, I found him, David Martin, 45, the owner of a small construction company in a nearby town. I wrote to him, pretending to be interested in his business, and to my surprise, he agreed to meet at a small cafe on the outskirts. When I walked into the cafe, my heart was beating so loudly I was afraid he would hear. David was sitting by the window, and when I saw him, I froze. The resemblance was striking. The same dark hair, slightly touched with gray, the same eyes that looked at me with curiosity and recognition. We started talking, and he was friendly, but I felt tension when I mentioned my mother's name. "Lena, yes, I knew her," he said, his voice trembling, and he looked away, as if the memory caused him pain. "We were close, very close." He fell silent, looking at me as if he saw a ghost, and I realized that he saw the resemblance too. "Sophia," he said quietly, his voice full of emotion, "you could be my daughter." My head spun, a lump formed in my throat, and I ran out of the cafe, unable to bear the truth. Tears burned my eyes and a storm raged in my chest. I was happy and broken at the same time. Now I knew, my life was built on lies, and I could not pretend that everything was okay. I returned home, full of anger and pain that burned me from the inside. Mom was sitting in the living room, reading a book. Her glasses slid down her nose, her face with the usual tiredness. But I couldn't keep silent any longer. The truth was bursting out like hot lava. "Why did you hide the fact that David is my father?" I screamed, throwing the photo on the table in front of her. Mom's book fell from her hands, her eyes filled with tears, and she tried to take my hand, but I recoiled, feeling the betrayal tearing me apart. "I wanted to protect you," she said, her voice shaking and tears streaming down her cheeks. "He left me, Sophia, when he found out I was pregnant. He said he wasn't ready for a child. I didn't want you to grow up with this burden, with this pain." Her words sounded sincere, but they only made me angrier. She stole my father from me. I could have had a different life, full of answers I never knew. That same evening, I called David, my hand shaking as I dialed the number. He answered right away, and I blurted out, "Why didn't you ever look for me?" His voice was soft but full of regret. "I always suspected that you were my daughter, Sophia. But Lena forbade me to contact you. She said it would be best for everyone." I felt like I was drowning in a sea of lies that my whole life was drowning in. Mom and I stopped talking after that fight. Every day at home was full of silence, heavy as lead. I saw her looking at me with pain and guilt, but I was too hurt to forgive her. And then David started calling me, insisting on meeting with Mom to fix everything. "I want to be a part of your life, Sophia," he said, and his words sounded sincere, but I was afraid that it would destroy everything we had left. My soul was torn between the desire to know my father and the fear of losing my mother, and I didn't know what to do. I struggled with myself for a long time, but eventually decided to arrange a meeting between Mom and David, although fear was like icy chains. We gathered in our house, and the tension was palpable. The air seemed to sparkle with emotion. Mom sat on the couch, her hands clenched into fists, her eyes full of pain and anger as she looked at David. He stood by the window, his face tense, but his voice soft. "Lena, I was young and stupid," he said, his voice shaking. "I wasn't ready for the responsibility, but I always regretted leaving. I want to be a part of her life, if she lets me." I saw Mom struggling with herself, her lips trembling, tears rolling down her cheeks. She was silent for a long time, and then she nodded, and at that moment we all burst into tears, hugging each other. It was not a happy ending. Too much pain remained between us, too many wounds that needed to be healed. But we started talking, telling each other the truth, and I felt the weight of the lies that had been weighing me down lighten. David became part of my life, but slowly, carefully, we'd meet for coffee, talk about life, and I learned to see him not as a threat, but as a person who was also suffering. Mom and I learned to forgive, although it wasn't easy. We spent evenings sitting in the kitchen with cups of tea, and for the first time in a long time, I saw her smile for real. The scars of the past still haunt me. I sometimes wake from disturbing dreams where Mom is hiding the truth again, but I've come to realize that the truth, no matter how painful, has set us all free. I know who I am now, and I have a chance to build a new connection with the father I never knew and the mother I'm learning to love again.